December 2nd, 1993. Medellín, Colombia. On the rooftop of a safe house, one of the world's most powerful criminals lies dead, his blood staining the tiles. Around his body, police officers gather, some even smiling, posing for pictures with a man who once terrified an entire nation. Who was Pablo Escobar? How did a boy from Medellín rise to control billions, unleash terror, and make himself untouchable? And why, after years of running the world's most powerful cartel, did his empire come crashing down on this rooftop? But Escobar's story isn't just about money or power. It's about a man who built his empire on fear, on bombings, assassination, and above all, a chilling choice he gave anyone in his way: plata o plomo, silver or lead. Welcome to our channel, Cartel Files. In this episode, we dive into the bloody rise and brutal fall of Pablo Escobar, the most feared drug lord of all time. Born on December 1st, 1949 in Rio Negro, Colombia, as Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria, Escobar grew up in the nearby town of Envigado, just outside Medellín. His father was a farmer and his mother a schoolteacher. The family was far from wealthy, but they weren't destitute either. They lived a modest, working-class life. From the beginning, Escobar stood out. While many children in his neighborhood accepted their circumstances, Pablo was ambitious. He wanted more, much more. Even as a teenager, he believed he was destined for wealth and power, no matter the cost. His early ventures were small-time but revealing. He dabbled in petty theft, sold contraband cigarettes, and was even rumored to have stolen gravestones, removing their inscriptions to resell them to monument dealers. Whether myth or truth, the story captured the spirit of a young man willing to break taboos and laws to make a profit. By his late teens, Escobar had also begun stealing cars and running scams, including selling fake lottery tickets. He briefly attended college, but education didn't hold his attention. Making money, however, always did. These early years may not look like much at the time. A poor boy chasing quick cash. But they revealed two traits that would define his future: a relentless hunger for wealth and a complete disregard for the rules that stood in his way. Escobar was just getting started. By the 1970s, Escobar had moved far beyond petty crime. Colombia was becoming a key transit point for cocaine headed to the United States, and Pablo saw an opportunity. He began working with smugglers, transporting small amounts of cocaine on planes, hidden inside shipments, or even stuffed into old tires. The profits were staggering. What started as a risky side hustle soon grew into a full-fledged empire. Escobar quickly realized that the drug trade could make him richer than anything else. He forged alliances, eliminated rivals, and built a distribution network that stretched from the jungles of Colombia to the streets of Miami. But Escobar's success wasn't built on business sense alone. It was built on fear. From the very beginning, he understood that in Colombia, money could buy almost anything, and what money couldn't buy, violence could. Escobar's infamous motto, plata o plomo, silver or lead, became the code of survival. Judges, police officers, politicians, and even journalists were given a choice: take his bribe or take a bullet. Many accepted the silver. Those who didn't were silenced forever. But Escobar didn't stop at bribes and threats. He turned murder into strategy. In the 1980s, he ordered the assassinations of presidential candidates, ministers of justice, journalists, and hundreds of police officers. His hitmen roamed the streets of Medellín on motorbikes, gunning down anyone who opposed him. At one point, he even put a bounty on police officers, paying thousands of dollars for each one killed. The violence escalated into open war. Escobar was behind bombings that tore through shopping centers, police stations, and even an airliner. In 1989, he ordered a passenger jet destroyed with a bomb in an attempt to kill a political rival. All 107 people on board were killed, including innocent civilians. This act shocked the world and proved Escobar would go to any length to protect his empire. By the mid-1980s, Escobar wasn't just the head of a cartel. He was a shadow government in Colombia. He controlled neighborhoods, influenced elections, and had armies of loyal sicarios willing to kill or die for him. Through terror, bloodshed, and unimaginable wealth, he made himself untouchable at least for a time. Despite the bombings, the assassinations, and the rivers of blood that flowed through Colombia, Pablo Escobar wasn't seen as a monster by everyone. For many Colombians, especially the poor living in Medellín slums, Pablo Escobar wasn't just a drug lord. He was a hero. While the government ignored them, Escobar poured millions of dollars into their communities. He built entire neighborhoods of housing, giving thousands of families a place to live. He funded schools, clinics, and churches, places where people could finally feel a sense of belonging. Perhaps most famously, he constructed soccer fields and sponsored local teams, knowing that football was at the heart of Colombian culture. For children who had nothing, playing on a new field funded by Escobar felt like a gift from a saint. This generosity earned him the nickname Robin Hood of Medellín. Locals called him Don Pablo, and in return for support, they gave him loyalty and protection. Entire neighborhoods became safe havens for Escobar, where people would hide him, mislead the police, or even confront authorities to defend him. But Escobar's kindness wasn't pure charity. It was strategy. By buying the love of the poor, he created a human shield around himself. To the government, he was a ruthless criminal, but to those living in poverty, he was the only man who cared. This dual image, killer and savior, terrorist and benefactor, made Pablo Escobar more than just a criminal. It made him a legend. By the early 1980s, Escobar was no longer satisfied with being just the richest man in Colombia. He craved legitimacy and power. In his mind, if he could buy off politicians and police, why not become one himself? In 1982, he managed to secure a seat as an alternate member of the Colombian Congress. For a brief moment, Escobar walked the halls of power, dressed in suits, shaking hands, presenting himself as a respectable businessman. Many Colombians were shocked. How could a known trafficker be sitting in government? But his political career didn't last long. Reformist Minister of Justice Rodrigo Lara Bonilla publicly denounced Escobar, exposing his ties to the cocaine trade. Escobar responded the only way he knew how, with violence. In 1984, Lara was assassinated by Escobar's gunmen, an act that turned the government fully against him. The murder marked a point of no return. Escobar's dreams of legitimacy were shattered, and his war with the state escalated. Soon after, the United States began demanding his extradition, and Escobar declared that he would rather die in Colombia than ever set foot in an American prison. From this moment, Escobar's empire shifted from shadow control to an open battlefield against the Colombian state. After Rodrigo Lara's assassination, Pablo Escobar unleashed a reign of terror unlike anything Colombia had ever seen. No longer hiding in the shadows, he declared war on the government. The government, on the other hand, had already had enough. So the government created Search Block, an elite police unit dedicated solely to hunting him down. With support from the United States, they launched an all-out manhunt. Meanwhile, rival traffickers formed their own group, Los Peeps, people persecuted by Pablo Escobar, a vigilante death squad determined to destroy Escobar's empire from the outside. The noose was tightening. Escobar was still rich, still dangerous, but his world was shrinking. Every day, his enemies were closing in. On December 2nd, 1993, just one day after his 44th birthday, the net finally snapped shut. Search Block intercepted a phone call Escobar made to his son and used radio direction equipment and mobile surveillance teams to triangulate the signal to a modest house in the Los Olivos/Medellín neighborhood. As officers closed in, Escobar tried to flee across the rooftops with a bodyguard. There was a short, violent exchange of gunfire, and he was mortally wounded on the tiles. While the official account credits the search block with shooting him dead, some controversy has lingered. Family members and a few witnesses have argued he may have shot himself to avoid capture. Pablo Escobar's life was a story of contradictions. He was both a ruthless killer and a generous benefactor. In the end, Escobar didn't die in a palace surrounded by riches. He died crawling across a rooftop, hunted, betrayed, and cornered. A man who once controlled 80% of the world's cocaine supply, brought down by his own ambition, his enemies, and a single phone call. Thank you for watching Cartel Files. If you found this story chilling, make sure to subscribe and stay with us as we uncover more true stories from behind the walls of crime, power, and money.